So you had this really unusual in so much as you were right there on the tarmac greeting the president as he came down from Air Force One. You had a lot of foresight because you brought your umbrella.
Yeah, well, I'm from Buffalo, so that's rule number one. And it was good to see the president. People said, why Buffalo? I say, why not Buffalo? Buffalo has a storied place in the nation's history. 100 years ago, we gave the nation of the world cancer research. We learned to turn the natural environment into power with the Niagara Power Project. And Buffalo has played a significant role in the nation's economic history, and we're poised for impressive growth moving forward. So it makes sense the president would speak to the nation through Buffalo about what needs to be done in order to regain our competitive position in a manufacturing economy.
Okay, so before we get to the serious nuts and bolts of this, let's dispense with the frivolous stuff that I think I'm curious about, and probably some other people are too. I mean, Duff's, you were with him at Duff's, correct?
No, I didn't go with him. I didn't stop there.
Were you the one who cued him in as to why, as to that would be a good place for him to stop? Because there are a lot of wing joints in Buffalo, of course, but you gave him the little tip-off there.
You can't do this to me. The wing thing is very competitive here. So what we do is provide the raw material to the White House about potential venues, about potential stops, and they come back with the finished product. So that was exclusively a decision made by the White House. We had nothing to do with it.
Okay. So you heard it here, Congressman Higgins declining to take a stand on where the best wings are in Buffalo because that would spark a war, of course. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Congressman.
It's all right. I'm good with it. We're used to it.
But he did actually make a smart order, as you noted prior to getting on the air with me.
Yeah, he did. He was very well schooled in the culture of chicken wing ordering. So he made a specialty order to his liking, and he seems to have enjoyed it. He mentioned it in his public remarks subsequent to having visited that chicken wing place.
Okay, so now let's get to the meat of the speech. You mentioned that
Sure.
Buffalo was an appropriate place for the president to speak to the nation about the economy. It is certainly a city that shares with other cities, so many cities in the Rust Belt, if you will, across the nation, a loss of jobs, a loss of population. Do you think that the president was, and I know that you share obviously a political affiliation, but delivered a message that people in Buffalo were willing to hear? He spoke very positively about the economy coming back. I'm not so sure that people on the ground feel that in reality.
Well, last month, the nation added 290,000 additional jobs. The previous month, 162. And the previous month, we had good job growth as well. I think what the president was saying, without raising unrealistic expectations, is that in order to create jobs, particularly in the manufacturing economy, we have to be willing to embrace change. We have to be willing to embrace innovation, embrace green technology, be in a continuous improvement mode. So whatever it is we do today, we do more efficiently tomorrow, and that America can compete in a global economy, particularly in the manufacturing economy. And he chose a venue in Buffalo, which about 15 years ago started with 4 employees, a dream, a vision. You had an owner, Dave Sullivan, who worked that vision, who worked that dream, and grew that company into over 80 employees and over $7 million in gross sales this year. But it's also well positioned for impressive growth moving forward.
But that's also the interesting thing about this particular location is at once talking about the need for investment in small businesses, also a very telling choice for this place because it's a metal fabrication plant, is it not? So that's a little bit of a message that yes, America does in fact still fabricate things, still manufactures things.
That's right.
So many people believe that we are not doing that anymore.
That's right. About 30 years ago, 50% of the Western New York economy was manufacturing. Today it's about 18%. I think what the president was conveying to the American people through Buffalo and through this business today was, hey, wait a minute, why are we allowing other countries to compete more effectively when, in fact, if we embrace innovation, if we embrace new technology, we can compete very effectively in a globalized economy.
He also delivered something of a political message, which was subtly, I mean, he didn't come out in sort of a fire and brimstone sort of way, but he did pointedly say, hey, Republicans, I feel like you aren't stepping up to the plate, you're being too obstructionist, and calling upon his friends on the other side of the aisle, as he said, to join in a bipartisan effort to push forward legislation that, in fact, would advance his business agenda. Do you believe that that kind of message, which the president has actually been making in a number of venues on a number of topics, is that going to get heated in Washington? Because it seems so hyper-partisan and divided, particularly the closer we get to these crucial midterm elections in the fall.
Yeah, I think, Liz, Washington's polarized. The American people aren't. And I think when you look at the economy, when you look at the environment, they're uniquely American problems with uniquely American solutions. And I think the president was speaking to the heart and the minds of people that aren't stuck in Washington and aren't stuck in that mindset. And I think people understand. I encourage and love a rigorous debate based on good facts, because in the end, good facts win out. And I think what the president is saying here is it's a nonpartisan message, but it's also a nonpartisan responsibility. And I think what Congress has the responsibility to do, both Democrats and Republicans, is work toward practical solutions to resolve America's problems moving forward. And it's within our grasp to do so.
Now, the president actually, while he was in Buffalo, part of the reason why the Senate, New York's two senators, Kirsten Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer, were not there with him in Buffalo is because that there was debate going on this Wall Street reform, the ongoing Wall Street reform debate, some votes that were being taken. Tonight, the president, the last time he was in New York was at Cooper Union last month to deliver a fairly heated speech calling on Wall Street, the industry, to join in reform efforts. And then subsequently this evening, he's headed down to New York City for a very high dollar fundraiser, $50,000 a couple. And I suspect that there will be some titans of industry there. Isn't that a little bit of a jarring almost, and there are some claims of hypocrisy being leveled about that. Do you not find sort of the optics of that a little jarring?
Sure, good question. I mean, first of all, money's a big problem in politics, generally speaking. Unfortunately, those are the rules, and those are the rules that you have to play by. So you got to raise money where the money is. At the same time, I think the president signaled, to Wall Street that, hey, look, you're either going to help us reform a system that creates greater transparency, greater accountability, greater predictability, or we're going to move forward without you. And we'd rather have industry that we regulate participate, have a role in suggesting, giving us the benefit of their insight, so that we can not deregulate or regulate, but do smart regulation that makes sense for the industry, regulation that makes sense for the American people. And in the end, the economy and the financial markets thrives because of consumer confidence. If people don't have confidence in the system because there's no transparency, because these financial institutions are trading in exotic and risky transactions that create systemic threat to the larger economy and the real economy, that doesn't instill confidence in the American people to invest. If there's transparency, if there's certainty, if there's reliability, that changes the ball game. And this is not a zero-sum game. This is a variable-sum game. There can be multiple winners, including